My name is Filip Goč. I'm from the Czech Republic. There's elementary school and high school in the range that you're interested in, and there's college. We don't have middle school or something like that. Kids go to elementary school usually, which is mandatory, around the age of 6. Some 7, depending when they were born, but 6 is the usual time. And they are in elementary school until 9th grade. So there are 9 grades. Even the elementary schools, they are not assigned, I just realized how much it's different from here. They are not assigned according to your geographical or any other location. You basically go wherever you want as long as they have space. There are also, and some kids commute, across the whole city to some good school. Also, some schools, even elementary schools, may have some kind of selection, but it depends. One overarching thing that I probably should have mentioned at the beginning is that as a remnant of perfectly socialist system, the schooling is for free to anybody until the age of 26. They would include at least one college degree if you wish to go to college. So that the vast majority of schools, and that would be elementary schools, high schools, and colleges, even though you're interested in colleges, are public. There are a few private institutions in elementary schools as well as high schools, but very little, and for most part they are specialized, maybe French lycée or a school that teaches in English and things like that. Those would be private most of the time. Oh well, the purpose of schooling: indoctrination with no negative connotations, if that's possible. Socialization. Learning to some extent, preparation to market, all of these things. Probably funding for most part, and lack of good teachers for most disciplines, connected to the lack of funds. It's most of the schools are public, so they are mostly publicly funded, but the wages for teachers are generally considered low, and the prestige of the job is not high. It's not as high as one would like to or expect, and it's true that for in many cases it's fairly difficult to even sustain a small family on like a teacher's salary. So a lot of good teachers teach for a few years and then they leave to private sphere when they need to actually start making money. Until recently, there was no standardized testing in Czech Republic. It only started about 3-4 years ago. It's still in very nascent stage, and it's we are basically starting to adapt the kind of U.S. standardized testing SAT thing model, but it didn't used to be the case. I would say attitudinal change has to be the first, or in conjunction with partial move into private funding and maybe charging some kind of tuition. And there's actually been many proposals like that in recent years, but there are many disadvantages as well as advantages to these things. But I think the key would be to to get good people into the what's it called, profession. And so you know, it depends how to get them and how to retain them is another question. Part of it is definitely going to be money, and where to get them is another question. But just to start with the people. But then, you know, they have to be in high esteem for having that job. So it's basically attitudinal change of the society. It's a vicious circle. That's one thing I should have mentioned earlier, but I mentioned it lightly, but I think it's fairly interesting about our system that we do not have something like grade point average, and that your grades from high school, for example, are not a factor of getting into college at all, historically. It's changing these days a little bit. But until a few years ago, nobody would even look at your grades from high school if you pass.
So it's dependent on the entrance exam?
Exactly. And every school would have their own entrance exam. So there wouldn't even be SATs. You know, let's say you wanted to go to this school, you would go to this school and take their own test. And if you pass, good enough. And if you have a high school degree, no matter how well or bad you did in high school, you're in.